Good evening. The Uttarakhand government is bringing in a bill during the current budget session of the State Assembly which will recover damages caused to government property from the private assets of individuals who are accused of rioting and causing disturbance. Now, the Uttarakhand government says it is bringing this law in the aftermath of the recent riots that you saw in Haldwani, where there was widespread damage to public property. Critics argue that this is a law that is meant to stifle dissent and meant to unfairly and perhaps disproportionately target members of one community. We have seen this play out in other states as well, in Uttar Pradesh, in the aftermath of the CAA riots, in Haryana, in Madhya Pradesh, all states ruled by the BJP, where similar laws have been used to recover damages caused to public property from private individuals who are accused of rioting. So, is the public recovery of damages something that is the need of the hour? Because at the end of the day, it's taxpayer and every taxpayer's money that is at the crosshairs, that is damaged because of what rioters indulge in? Or is the state running a huge risk of a politically and communally divisive move, which could also be fraught with legal risks?
नियम है उनको थोड़ा कड़ा कर रहे हैं ताकि सरकारी संपत्तियों को बचाया जा सके और इस तरह के जो तत्व हैं उन पर नकेल कसी जा सके।
जो संपत्ति को नुकसान पहुंचाने का काम करेंगे, चाहे वो सरकार की संपत्ति हो चाहे व्यक्तिगत संपत्ति हो, इसमें अगर कोई तोड़फोड़ का काम करता है, जो आंदोलन कैसे भी हो, परंतु वो वसूली उन्हीं लोगों से होनी चाहिए।
जो ये विधेयक ला रही है सरकार, इसमें जो जन विरोधी नीतियां, जो निर्णय सरकार ले रही है, उसके खिलाफ जो है कोई आवाज न उठाए, इसलिए डराने का, दबाने का काम कर रही है।
Right, so let's first get you an overview of what this bill proposes to do. It's called the Uttarakhand Public and Private Property Damage Recovery Bill. It's set to be tabled in the current budget session of the State Assembly. It basically allows for the recovery of cost of damage to public or private property during protests. Now, those who are responsible for disturbances will be liable to pay compensation to the damage caused to public or private property. A tribunal, which will be chaired by a retired judge, will sit on this matter and will adjudicate on the compensation that has to be paid. Now remember, this is coming in the aftermath of the riots that we saw a few weeks ago in Haldwani, where the Haldwani district administration has now attached properties of several accused. A notice for 2.44 crore rupees in compensation has been sent to one of the main accused. His name is Abdul Malik. Him and his lawyers are now crying foul that this is being used unfairly and communally to target him because he comes from a minority community. Now, the criticism against such laws has always been about the legal scrutiny and whether they will stand the test of law. Back in 2007, the Supreme Court took note of various instances where there was large-scale destruction of public and private properties in the name of protests, bands, hartals, etc. The court back then appointed two committees, one headed by Justice K.T. Thomas and senior advocate Fali Nariman, to suggest guidelines, and this is what those committees came to, their conclusions. The Nariman committee had said that the rioters should be made strictly liable for the damage that is caused to public property. The Nariman committee's recommendation was that the liability may be assessed by either a court of law or by some kind of special procedure, that a suo motu machinery is required to probe as well as to award compensation. But the Justice K.T. Thomas committee, which is also parallelly looking at this, they recommended a reversing of the burden of proof against the protesters. The Justice Thomas committee said that prosecution must prove that the property was damaged in direct action. Also, he weighed in on what is one of the most basic principles of law, that the law must presume that anyone is innocent until proven guilty by the prosecution. After the prosecution's case, the burden is on the accused to prove innocence. So, Let me now go across to our guests who are joining us. Manu Singh is MLA belonging to the Uttarakhand BJP. George Kurian is a political analyst. He supports the Congress party. Ghanshyam Tiwari, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Vikram Singh is former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. And Shiv Khera, author who is backing the BJP's position on this. Let me first start off by asking Mr. Munna Singh of Uttarakhand. So this bill that has been brought in the budget session of the Uttarakhand Assembly, of which you're a member, it is similar to the bills already in existence in Uttar Pradesh and in Haryana. Under this bill, losses to public and government properties incurred during protests and strikes will be recovered from the accused involved. In the case of Uttarakhand, the most recent instance is what happened in Haldwani in Uttarakhand just earlier this month. At least 5 people were dead, over 100 injured. The state has sent recovery notice to the main accused, Abdul Malik, of 2.44 crore rupees. His lawyers are now arguing this is a discriminatory move. This is a communally fraught move. How do you respond, Mr. Munna Singh? Because their contention is many people were involved in the riots. How are you placing liability only on one person?
You have laid down the background very precisely. This law draws cue from the observation of the committee headed by Justice Nariman, and this law has proved to be a huge deterrent, against the damage to the public property, public and private property. Now, it's very unfortunate that criminals are being branded as communities. So far as bringing this legislation on the floor of the House is concerned, we do not at all mean to target any community. The recent case of the Haldwani rioting proves beyond doubt that the person who is absconding, who has been brought to the books, he was a land grabber, he was a mafia. And you must be knowing, and your respected channel have been covering the minute-to-minute program. Police personnel on duty, they tried to burn them alive. The police station was torched. The police vehicles were put on fire. And, still, there is not a single statement from my government, from my state, or anyone from my state saying that this was done by such and such community. We always said this action is against the people, those who have been evading the law, and definitely people, those who are taking law into their hand and causing immeasurable damage to the public and private property. They are liable to compensate it.
No, but Mr. Munna Singh, two points. One second. Before I go to Ghanshyam Tiwari, Mr. Munna Singh, 2 points. Hear me out. 1 second, Mr. Singh. There are 2 points of contention raised by the accused in this case. Number one, that he was not the only person who was involved in this rioting. There were numerous people who were involved in this rioting, and yet the Haldwani district administration has sent a recovery notice. 1 second, hear me out, please hear me out, Mr. Singh. The Haldwani district administration has sent a recovery notice of 2.44 crore only to this one accused, Mr. Abdul Malik. So please explain how he is liable for all the destruction caused by all the people accused of rioting in Haldwani. Please explain number one.
See. What is the modus of what is the bone of contention? Bone of contention was grabbing a precious government land. Who was the grabber? Abdul Malik. Who instigated the violence? Abdul Malik. Who instigated people to torch the police station? Abdul Malik. Who is the man behind who instigated people to put the police personnel, especially the lady police constables, on fire? Let me tell you at the same time, they were the Muslim. I was refraining from using naming a community, but they were Muslim people only who saved those women constables from, being burnt alive. So, for God's sake, stop giving name of the community to these criminals. If you go to the UP, this Atiq Ahmad was not a community. Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi was not a community. Abdul Malik is not a community. Some Pandey who was killed in the police encounter, he was not a community. Likewise,
Okay.
People, those who are resorting
Let-
to the arsoning,
let me
firing,
let me
killing
ask
people,
okay, let me
damaging
ask
public property.
Ghanshyam Tiwari of
They
the
do not
Samajwadi
belong to
Party,
any religion, they
as
do not
this
belong to
law
any caste, they refrain
envisions
from making
the
such
manner of
efforts.
recovery of losses caused to public or private property. It's called the Uttarakhand Public and Private Property Damage Recovery Bill. There is going to be a tribunal headed by a retired judge that will investigate these charges against the identified accused after the state's complaint. The assessment and orders for damage recovery will be issued by the tribunal only after all sides are heard, both government and the accused persons. And this is going to be an order passed by a retired judge. The state is not going to suo motu issue these notices and recover these assets.
Mr.
Good evening,
Jacob,
Zaka, to you,
Mr.
my fellow
Jacob.
co-panelists.
Yes,
And the
yes,
viewers.
Ghanshyam, yeah.
There are three things I want to state. First of all, look at this tragic and draconian model that BJP has built. For any user who does a basic Google research, rise of hate speeches in India, especially Uttarakhand. There are documented evidence that Uttarakhand has seen a consistent rise of hate speeches led by BJP leaders, and across India, the number of hate speeches that are made
We are not
against
guided
Muslim
by- we are not
community.
guided
or
No,
against
Mr. Munna Singh,
species
no,
of
person. Not this way.
are not guided by
No,
Google.
he didn't interrupt you. You don't
No.
interrupt when he's speaking. No,
We are
sorry.
not guided
No,
by
no,
Google.
sorry. He speaks when in his time. You speak in your time. Ghanshyam.
So a basic Google search will tell you that BJP leads by far this hate program in India. What is the outcome of this hate program? You as a state and as a ruling party of the state has a hate ideology. In that hate ideology, people are instigated and your government is in charge. And whether it is a riot in one state or another, you are the judge, jury and executioner. The genesis of this law in Uttar Pradesh itself came when the judge, jury and executioner in Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Yogi Adityanath, did exactly the same thing, and he was reprimanded. His government was reprimanded both by the High Court and Supreme Court, and they had to bring in an ordinance. A law made with malintent, designed with the model of hate, is bound to fail and is bound to break the arms
Wrong.
and legs of democratic model of India,
wrong.
which is built on fairness and ability of a citizen to protest against unfair state.
No.
That's what-
One second, Ghanshyam.
I got-
No one
Mr.
is. No,
Jacob,
Mr. Shukla,
Mr.
please.
Jacob.
No. One second.
Let me-
I'm moderating the
let
debate.
me
Let me
correct
decide which
the
guest to go to. No,
ST
sorry.
I
No,
thought
Mr.
Supreme
Munna
Court
Shukla.
had no point
No.
of-
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm conducting the debate. Let me decide who I go to. Ghanshyam. You know, the point is, nobody is saying you can't protest or you can't dissent, but nobody has the right to damage public property. And this has happened not just in, protests in Uttar Pradesh or in Uttarakhand. This has been happening for a number of years in a state like Kerala or Bengal, where CPM and left politics, hartal, dharna, bandh, and people go and damage public property. Now, in the case of Haldwani, let me just read this out. In the case of Haldwani, there was curfew that was imposed for 12 days because the district administration, there was continued violence. Curfew had to be imposed for 12 days. 5 people were dead, over 100 injured. Private and public vehicles were burnt by the rioting mob. A police station was set on fire. How should the state recover this money? Because this is ultimately, whether it is public buses, police station, this is built on taxpayer money. I pay for it, you pay for it, everybody on the panel pays for it. Why should some jokers go and destroy that public property?
First and foremost, everyone here and every one of your viewers believes that anybody who does damage to public property must be penalized. That is one thing. But if your model is that you will simmer the state with your own leaders making hate speech, and then you will take one-sided model. As far as BJP's interest in public property is concerned, 2 of their Uttarakhand chief ministers in the last few years have said that corruption is rampant in BJP government. 2 of their own chief ministers. And as far as their idea about who is a community and who is a gunda, you just have to look at how BJP has set all the records in history of democratic India by the number of sitting MPs and MLAs who have criminal charges who come from the same party.
Okay.
It ranks over 400. So BJP doesn't have a moral stand-eye to be able to implement such a law.
Let me go to George Kurian and then Vikram Singh. After that, Mr. Kheda as well. Sorry, Mr. Munna Singh, come on. I've got 3 other guests, sir. Please have some patience. I'll come back to you. Let me go to the other guests. They've been waiting very patiently. Please extend them some courtesy. Additional Advocate General of the state of Uttar Pradesh, Mr. George Kurian. her name is Garima Prasad, told the Supreme Court that in the aftermath of the anti-CAA riots that happened in late 2019, early 2020, there were 106 FIRs that were registered against 833 protesters. 274 recovery notices were sent. Of these 274, orders were passed in 236 cases, while in 38 cases it was closed. Now, please tell me, if the state back then had made the assessment, I think it was to the tune of some 3.34 crore rupees of damages caused to public property in the anti-CAA riots in Uttar Pradesh. That's why they brought in the ordinance and then subsequently the bill, which was passed by the Uttar Pradesh State Assembly. Who will recover this 3.37 crore rupees? Is it not the responsibility of the state to recover this from people who are clearly doing an illegal act, damaging public property? Go ahead, protest. Nobody is saying don't protest, but you cannot have the right to break the windshields of public buses, damage public property. That's illegal. That is against the law of the land. Mr. George Kurian.
Well, Zaka, I'm of the firm opinion that something of this sort, which is a public and private property damage recovery bill, is something which the principal opposition party, Congress party, would want to give its consent to, and it's a good thing, provided it is not targeted to a particular community at large, mainly the Muslim community or the minorities, because we all understand how the government's BJP ruled state function. Initially they try to provoke a particular community, and then it is quite obvious that for every action there would be reaction, opposite reaction. So this is what happens in the case of Nu. We have seen in the case of Haldwani. These are all decisions of the government.
No, what do you mean by every action has a reaction? Are you justifying the Haldwani riots in which close to 100 people were injured, 5 people were dead, and 12 days of curfew?
Well, not really, Zaka. What I'm trying to put across to your audience is that this has become a model of BJP's governance. Uttarakhand, as we all know, it's become a testing lab for the Bharatiya Janata Party for all these kind of violent things and passing of bills, with whether it's UCC or now in this case. So what I'm trying to put across to your viewers is that it should be done in free and fair manner. Not a particular community should be targeted here.
No, but on what basis are you saying that a particular community is going to be targeted? Because I nowhere in this draft bill does it specifically outline or single out one community or two communities. It's for anyone who takes the law into his or her own hands and damages public property, it will be recovered from them after a tribunal, a retired judge will go into the matter and hear both sides. Where does it say one community will only pay?
Well, this is the fear that and the perception that is there across all boards, and we're sure that this shouldn't happen. So we're keeping our concern here on your national television. And let me also say that this matters. Okay. Any cases of violence should be the matter should be expedited, and the writers should be brought to just books.
Okay, so let me go across to Vikram Singh as a former top cop, as a former DGP of police in Uttar Pradesh. This matter went up to the Supreme Court before, of course, the state of UP passed that bill in the Assembly in 2021. This went up to the Supreme Court. It was a bench headed by, in fact, in 2022, it was a bench headed by then Justice D.Y. Chandrachud and Justice Suryakant, in which the bench observed the following. You have become, which is the state, the complainant, you have become the adjudicator, and then you are attaching the property of the accused. The bench also went on to say, now there is no provision in the law for the transfer of cases which were already decided as per an existing law. No provision for appeal under the new law. These poor people, the words of the court, not my words, these poor people whose properties have been attached will have no remedy. You have to follow due process of law. Ultimately, there has to be some guarantee of due process. Point is, what is the redressal mechanism for somebody who is accused of rioting and damaging public property? Where does he or she go? Something that the Supreme Court has also opined on.
Good evening, Zaka, and good evening, gentlemen. I have hands-on experience of wanton rioting and arson for 36 years plus, and I know what I'm talking about. To condone this wanton act and irresponsible act is courting the recipe of disaster, and I strongly believe that those who even think on those lines, they should be aware that there will be consequences. About the observations of the Honorable Supreme Court and also that we, of natural justice also, there is a judicial mechanism and all the action is within the ambit of judicial scrutiny. A judicial officer of the rank of a very senior retired judge adjudicates in all these matters, listens to both the parties, the state and the accused, and then gives out a speaking order after giving ample opportunity to both the parties. And then there's a speaking order and then the recovery order is implemented. As in the case of Uttarakhand has already incorporated that, UP did that subsequently and now it is perfectly operational. The result is in front of everyone. What happened in Kerala after the PFI was banned, the Kerala High Court had to intervene and said, recover the losses of the government and the public and private property from the PFI cadres and from their offices and from their bank accounts. The country cannot afford the luxury of wanton destruction of government and public property.
No, but Mr. Singh, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but the same can be said of the state. The state also sends down bulldozers. Of course, it uses the legal loophole of encroachment, an anti-encroachment drive to justify its action. But that is also destruction of property, private property.
Zaka, you're putting the cart before the horse. The bulldozer is done by the development authority where there is encroachment after exhausting all options of appeal. It is not that I don't like somebody's face and I put the bulldozer. No, it doesn't happen that way. And I had expected a lot more from CNN channel. It is after a due administrative process, all channels of appeal are exhausted and then the bulldozer.
Ghanshyam is shaking his head, so quick response and then I'll go to Mr. Khera. Mr. Khera has been waiting very patiently.
Well, Zaka, the nation knows BJP's sense of institutions. You talk about retired judge. We have to just look at Anil Masihi case in Chandigarh and we know what is BJP's sense of institution. Every institution by BJP is corroded and corrupted. The second point I want to make on which I was taking it, even BJP leader in Uttarakhand, this was a story last year that the news media covered, that the BJP MLA would know. His name, his leader from Purola, who was their minority cell head, Muhammad Zaid, said that if a BJP man like me isn't safe, who is safe? That BJP is turning Devbhoomi Uttarakhand into a laboratory of hate is visible by the numbers that I was quoting. In 2023 alone, 5% of hate events. 5% of hate events in India was in Uttarakhand as per the think tank that reported.
Sir, he's part of the opposition. Let him say what he has to say, after which I'll come to you. I'll give you ample opportunity to respond to what he's saying. Are you telling me I should shout him down? There is no place for an alternate voice. Certainly on this show there is. So let him make his point and after that I'll come to you.
To criminalize the entire debate.
No, so you can make that point when it's your turn, when it's your time. Let him finish his point.
I invite Munna Singh ji to refute these 3 points that their own minority cell leader said that if it is unsafe for a BJP man like me in Purola, then what would it be for other minorities? That the across the world have noted that Uttarakhand has become a hit.
No, he does not belong to the Congress party. Why are you telling him that? He belongs to the Samajwadi party. Why are you telling him about Congress party? Now please respond to what he has said. If you have a response, please go ahead.
The genesis of all these things.
Mr. Munna Singh, I'm giving you time to respond to Ghanshyam Tiwari. Please respond. Mr. Munna Singh, I'm giving you time to respond to Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari. Please respond. After which I have to go to Mr. Khera. Yes.
Let me ask him few quick questions. Look, should police ask every criminal who comes to police station, who is brought to police station, what is your caste, creed and religion? Is it the way to decide the investigation? Should the administration, state government or the local administration should be a silent spectator to any kind of a arsoning, any kind of a torching, causing damage to the public and private properties, killing people and not taking any action? Let me ask the Samajwadi Party spokesperson. So far as Haldwani incident was concerned, it was just simply a part of the anti-encroachment drive that was going on throughout the state. Irrespective of the fact which caste, community, religion he belongs to. This was going on.
Okay.
One Mr. Abdul Malik, he instigated because he had grabbed a huge...
We heard that point from you previously as well. Now let me please go to Mr. Khera. Mr. Khera has been waiting very patiently. Mr. Khera, This entire matter in the case of Uttar Pradesh went up to the Supreme Court, and the reason the Supreme Court struck down this was because of the legal principle of joint and several liability, which means if there are 10 people who have indulged in rioting or arson or damaged public property, and if there is one accused, then the state can recover all the damages from that one accused as per this principle of joint and several liability. That's why the court struck it down.
Well, first of all, every law is subject to use or abuse depending on which side you are playing the game. That is one. And number two, pretty much whenever anything happens, political parties come in and they want to gain mileage out of anything like this to gain votes. And that is it. Now, why is everything become communal? Is it everything communal? I recall very well few years ago when Azharuddin was the captain of Indian team. After he retired, something happened and he said, they are targeting me because I am a Muslim and that's why they are targeting me. It's communal. But 4 years he stayed as a captain. How come he never said anything at that time that what is communal about it? Now, the law, the way I understand, does not prevent anybody from protest. They are saying that yes, anybody who damages innocent people's property or government property, they better pay for it. Now, the point that you made that 10 people are there and law can say one person can be held accountable. When mobs come in, generally you find there is always a leader in every mob. Go check out anywhere, there is always a leader who is leading that mob right there. And that leader instigates all the violence, all the destruction everywhere. So if they pick up that one person and say, all right, you are responsible, we will collect all the damages from you. What's wrong with it?
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong.
I'll tell you what is wrong with that. Again, I'm quoting an example. This was a media report published in the Indian Express in the aftermath of the anti-CAA protests that happened in Lucknow. I'm talking about late 2019, early 2020. At that time, orders were issued by the then Additional District Magistrate of Lucknow, Vaibhav Mishra, to 46 individuals named in 2 FIRs to recover damages estimated at 64.37 lakhs. There were 46 individuals. This media report, this newspaper, investigated these 46 recovery orders. What it found was that 28 out of these 46 who were named in 2 FIRs were out on bail. In not one of these 46 cases did the police present any visual evidence, photographs or video to show that any of these 46 individuals were actually there when the violence happened and to show that they indulged in the damage of public property. The matter went all the way to the High Court. The High Court stayed it, saying insufficient evidence. That is one of the problems.
Okay, Zaka, the only thing I can say is that whatever happens, it is subject to trial by a retired judge. And now, if you are saying that you do not have confidence in the retired judge, then you are questioning the basic foundation of India's judiciary to begin with. So, and let me ask you, when you talk of those FIRs that you are talking, are you aware that in Delhi, on the Shahi Imam from Jama Masjid, there are many FIRs on him, and how come nobody arrests him? If you had a FIR and I had it, we'd be somewhere else.
Okay.
I mean, how come he's going free? Now, all I can say to you is that I don't want to deviate from it.
Yeah.
My point I'm trying to make is that there is a retired judge. They have a recourse. Let them go there and let the judicial system take its course and take care
Vikram
of
Singh,
it.
again, I go back to 2020 and when the UP government, before passing the law in the assembly, the matter went up to the Supreme Court. Remember, this was pending also before the Allahabad High Court, and the Allahabad High Court had also directed the UP government back then to remove what was called as these name and shame posters, photographs and names of those who had allegedly damaged property. The High Court had issued this directive. The matter went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court refused to interfere with that directive, basically saying that where is the due process of law? Either you have to show that such and such people were indulging in arson, were rioting, and there has to be evidence produced, examined, and substantiated in a court of law, or you simply can't put up these name and shame posters.
Very correct, Zaka. That's
I'm
what
with
the
you.
observation.
Vikram Singh,
That
Vikram
was
Singh.
Totally with
absolutely.
you. I agree
Vikram
with
Singh,
you.
please. Thank you. Vikram Singh, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Zaka, thank you very much. That was an observation by the Honorable High Court and duly complied with in letter and spirit by the UP government. Those posters were removed, and this is something so contemporary that we're all privy to that. Now, a single infirm investigation cannot be the basis of the future of these ordinances and acts, because they are what is required. A single master conductor is conducting an orchestra, and he is jolly well responsible. Is it not that Malik was the one who opposed the authorities? Is he not the one who was in fact instigated the mob? Is he not the one who proved with his speeches and funding of the mobs? Look, I have been SSP Nainital for 3 years, and without being personal, I know who is the master conductor is without taking names.
No.
And if the
Vikram Singh
investigation
Saab, with due respect, and like I said, I respect the 35 years of your experience in service, but you will be the first person to agree, and I'm not defending any individual here, but you'll be the first person to agree that this has to be proved in a court of law. Who the instigator
Obviously.
was, what he said, what he
equality
didn't
for
say,
Zaka,
has to stand the
absolutely.
test of law in a court after
Absolutely,
a
but
trial.
the senior lawyer,
Yes.
Zaka, just one last sentence. When
Yeah.
the senior lawyers say that he belongs to a community, equality before law, whether you are a minority or a majority, you should jolly well realize that if you commit a crime, there will be consequences,
All right.
irrespective of which community you are. It
Okay.
cannot be used as a defense.
I'm concluding the debate because we've reached the half-hour mark. Thank you very much to all our guests. We'll be very closely tracking the developments in the Uttarakhand bill to see if it passes the assembly, and of course how the political parties, the opposition and the government sort of react to it, and more importantly what kind of caveats are put in place so that this stands the test of law and does not make an abuse of the law. Meanwhile, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll shift focus back to the US presidential elections, where Donald Trump over the weekend has surged ahead in the race for the Republican nomination. He defeated his only other contender in the field, Nikki Haley, and that too in her home state of South Carolina by over 20 percentage points. But the former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, refuses to exit the race. We get you a deep dive on what is her political strategy. Is she trying to be looking at a prospective Trump conviction that might bar him from running? Or is she battling for a place in Trump's cabinet? Or is she setting this up for another run in 2028 post a Trump era? That and more right on the other side of this quick break.
My mother always would tell me to take care of the animals.
So in your childhood also you would do this?
I would do it in my childhood. And my father is one of the biggest wildlife buffs. For example, when we were young, I think till the age of 18, I've not gone to any other family holiday except Africa, Ranthambore and the jungles of Kahana, the jungles of Bandhavgarh, Kaziranga. My father would only take us to jungle holidays. So I think they inspired me to do this. And to be honest, I thought of, so domestic animals are many people who are doing a lot of good work across the country.
Correct.
But for wildlife, there are very few people. And you know, wildlife is getting endangered. Here, we have more than 50, 60 endangered species.
50, 60 endangered species?
We have rescued from various backgrounds like circuses, from road accidents, from animal-human conflict, from zoos which are overcrowded. We have rescued animals from all across, from hunting lodges in South Africa and from other places. So while we were rescuing them, I thought that we need a state-of-the-art hospital. We need a state-of-the-art facility. I don't want to keep them in cages. I want to keep them in their natural habitat. So we worked very hard. You saw today, I showed you. We have mimicked the natural habitat to the T, as to the best of my ability. And my team is more important than me. There's a trust, and the trust runs it. So the team has created a wildlife sanctuary, and each enclosure has its own biodiversity. From the plants to the water body to even the rocks and the logs are from originally where the animals came from. Our focus is that India should not have any wild animal suffering in captivity, or any wild animal should not go without being treated.
That's a very, very big thought, because we are very rich in flora and fauna. So does that also open you up to scrutiny? Are people asking, What is this person doing in Jamnagar? Is he really creating a rescue and a rehabilitation center?
Of course, see, there are a lot of, when you do something, there'll be a lot of people who will praise you and a lot of people who will not praise you. But at the end of the day, in my heart, I know I'm true and I'm doing it for animals. And as long as I know what I'm doing, I don't worry about what others have to say.
I believe there were some people who came and checked also.
We have had many.
And they went back convinced and
we have had many.
Converted.
We have, the organization, the trusts have been going to court many times, and we have always argued well. And we are legally compliant. We comply with every statutory compliance, and every compliance is
line that's been ticked. So there's nothing.
So
everything is above board. And
getting an animal is not easy. You have to. MOEF has certain guidelines. The state government has guidelines. The CITES. We are extremely regulated in terms of we follow every law to the T.
So you will stand the test of legal scrutiny in terms of this endeavor because it's important. Because what you're doing is very significant.
Yes.
So let me ask you, you're also very dharmic. So is there a Sanatan connect to it all?
Of course. So as you know that in our Sanatan, you will, every deity has an animal which is close to her or his heart.
True.
Every deity
has a Vahana.
Is an animal.
Yeah.
So, and in our Rig Veda, Krishna said, Krishna also says that all life is equal.
Yeah.
May it be a human, or may it be a bee, or may it be an ant, everything is equal.
Yeah, Mama Ivamsho, he says.
Yes.
Jiva
so here we take care from frogs to mice to everything. So I have a whole, today you've seen as a wildlife rescue center.
But what does it do for you? Why do you do it?
For me, I'm
asking as a layman. Everybody has money. Some people have little, some people have lots of money. Everybody does different things with them. You need to have a cause, something that drives you.
So my cause to do this was that human welfare, there are a lot of people working. But animal welfare, there are few people working. I think I was the chosen one, and I was fortunate enough that God's blessings that I could do seva of animals. For me, in today's life, you can't see God, but I see God within every animal. They say that in our dharma, they say that in a cow there are 64 crore devtas. But for me, not only in a cow, but I see in every animal a devta. So it's my giving back to society.
Good afternoon. You're watching the Breaking News Show on CNN News 18, and we're beginning the show with breaking news coming in regarding the launching of a dream project. Anant Ambani's dream project Vantara is going to be unveiled today. It is the biggest rescue center for over 60 species of wildlife in Jamnagar. Now, this is the biggest rescue facility. It's called the Green Zoological Rescue and Rehabilitation Kingdom at Jamnagar, Gujarat. It's by, as we told you earlier, Reliance Industries Limited. It's a pet project of Mukesh Ambani's youngest son, Anant Ambani. It's built on about 260 acres of land close to the company's refinery project in Jamnagar, the world's largest oil refinery complex. This is obviously where it operates a petrochemical project as well. We're going to take you now to an interview by my colleague Anand Narsimhan with Ambani about this initiative. Take a look.
I'm standing in the middle of a state-of-the-art operation theatre, ladies and gentlemen, with the works in terms of medical equipment. This is even powered by robotics. But the important point is that it's not just for human beings. It's not for human beings. It's for lives that we oftentimes don't value, but perhaps they're most important in our food chain. It's for the wild animals. And it's perhaps a one-of-a-kind rescue and rehabilitation center that I find myself in. And I'm so proud to be able to speak with a person who's at the heart of it all and who's championed it right from ground up, Mr. Anant Ambani. Anantji, namaste.
Anand, how are you? Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you very, very much. Let me first ask you, where are we? And can you take our viewers through this? And then we'll get into the genesis of where we are in Vantara.
Currently, you are in our large animal operation theatre. This is our hospital. It's spread over 1.5 lakh square feet. You can see we have a gas anesthesia machine. We have state-of-the-art operation table, operation lights. We have a entire robotic endoscopic machine which we can also do robotic surgery with. We have ventilators. We have everything which is state of the art. I personally have not seen such a well-equipped ICU. So I've visited more than, before I could build this, I visited more than 30 or 40 facilities all across the world, and I took inspiration from every one of them. And those were my inspiration to build this.
True. Now, this is a smaller animal facility. These are primates and the felines, and those are the ones which are here. There's a huge elephant hospital that they've also built. That is the Radhikrishna Elephant Welfare Trust. And that was phenomenal to see. More than 100 elephants that we saw there.
We have rescued actually more than 200 elephants.
Nikki Haley gave a big speech last week in Greenville in her home state of South Carolina. This was before the state voted decisively for Donald Trump in the weekend primary. She devoted an entire speech to explaining why she was not dropping out of the presidential race. Her reasons were as follows.
I feel no need to kiss the ring. I have no fear of Trump's retribution. I'm not looking for anything from him. My own political future is of zero concern. So I hear what the political class says, but I hear from the American people too.
Hungry for attention and fed up with fielding questions about why she's not dropped out of the race yet, her team had billed this speech in Greenville as a state of the race speech. Speculation was flowing among Republican strategists that she finally might be coming to terms with the reality and that she would finally drop out of this race. But that is not what happened. Nikki Haley now understood that without some unforeseen act of God, there was simply no mathematical path for her to win enough number of delegates to win the Republican nomination from Donald Trump. Haley was enjoying herself during that speech in Greenville. She was finally able to say out loud what she thought about Trump for long years. She was seemingly delighted that she had focused her national attention on this message. She looked like a woman without too much to lose. After all, her entire campaign was based on opposition to Trump, not necessarily just for election purposes, but also in opposition to Trump the person and Trump the potential president. Also betting on the fact that Trump's numerous legal troubles will finally get the better of him. That in the event of a conviction in one of many cases that he is an accused in, that Trump may finally be barred from running for president. There was speculation that she may be staying in the race long enough for Trump to offer her a cabinet post, possibly vice president. Haley says she wants nothing from Donald Trump. After serving as the ambassador to the United Nations under Trump, she would not be lured by another cabinet post. She does not want to cut a deal with him in order to end her campaign. It's hard to find a Republican lawmaker or lobbyist who's not privately speculating what Nikki Haley's ulterior motives are. Is she hanging on as a Plan B candidate just in case Trump dies or goes to prison? Is she positioning herself as the woman who is going to lead the Republican Party in a post-Trump era? If Trump were to lose again to Joe Biden in the general election in November, then can she return in 2028, run for office once more and say, hey, I told you so? Nikki Haley's friends and allies say that the doomsayers have never really understood her. She has a history of winning long shot races. She's used to being counted out and then coming back and proving people wrong. Let's look back at her election career. She was a young, first-time candidate who was lagging far behind in the polls in her first election. That was for a state house race in South Carolina. Back then, she beat a nearly 30-year incumbent for a South Carolina state house seat. It was a come-from-behind victory which shocked the entire political establishment in the state at that time. And then many years later, in 2010, she once again beat a slew of political heavyweights from the state in her race to be governor for the first time. At that time, her opponents included Henry McMaster, who was a former state attorney general, Gresham Barrett, who was then a popular congressman, and Andre Bauer, who was then the state's very popular lieutenant governor. That same establishment is now lined up against her in support of Donald Trump. Now, despite the big loss in her home state of South Carolina, where she lost to Trump by almost 20 percentage points, her donors have expressed a willingness to stick with her until Super Tuesday at least, which is March the 5th. But then, right after this weekend, came a big blow. Her biggest backers backed out. The political network created by the billionaire Koch brothers, they said they were suspending their support for Nikki Haley. Their group is called Americans for Prosperity Action. They had spent tens of millions of dollars trying to elevate Nikki Haley and trying to prevent a re-nomination for Donald Trump. And that money has resulted in very vicious attacks between Trump and Haley on the campaign trail. Last week, Trump attacked Haley's husband, Michael, asking why he was not beside her on the campaign trail. Haley snapped back, saying that her husband was serving overseas in the military, an act of service that Trump had never performed and never could understand. Nikki Haley presents her decision to stay on in the race as a matter of principle. She points out that most Americans are unsatisfied with either candidate, whether it is Biden or Trump. She says that America deserves better than these two old men and that she's determined to give voters that choice. To quit so early in the race, she says, would be to consign Americans to the longest general election campaign in history, one that could result in chaos no matter who wins in November. She had made it clear in the 2016 campaign what she thought of Trump. She considered him morally unfit for the presidency. But then she voted for him. She also served under him as ambassador to the United Nations. She even praised him extravagantly in the context of his foreign policy towards China, towards North Korea, and even towards Russia. But perhaps because of that relationship, much of this campaign in 2024, Nikki Haley had gone easy on Donald Trump. So easy that until just a few weeks ago, Trump was seriously considering her to be a potential running mate. Haley and her allies spent nearly all their energy, almost all of their money, trying to destroy Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, because that would then clear the field for a two-person race.
I was proud to serve America in his administration. But the truth of the matter is, chaos follows him. Everywhere he goes, chaos follows him. And we can't be a country in disarray and a world on fire and go through 4 more years of chaos. We won't survive it.
Trump versus Haley. But in recent weeks, Haley has finally let loose on Donald Trump. She has portrayed Trump as a sycophant of President Vladimir Putin of Russia. She's openly and publicly challenged Trump to say that Putin was responsible for the death of Alexei Navalny, the longtime dissident. She's also criticized Trump for spending more time and money in court than on the campaign trail. She's also assailed him for controlling the Republican National Committee, the RNC, which of course plays a huge role in how the candidates will eventually get chosen at the convention. He's also criticized the RNC and criticized Trump for trying to push his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, to be appointed as the chairperson of the Republican National Committee. Now, whatever her motivations are, there are other more prosaic reasons for why she's keeping the fight going just a little longer. She wants to take it through to Super Tuesday, which is on the 14th of March, when more than a dozen states will vote. This campaign has helped Nikki Haley elevate her national profile, and something that might be useful in 2028 if she decides to run once again in a post-Trump era. She's basically banking on the fact that at some point there will be enough Republicans within the party who are fed up of Trump and who want to migrate away from Trump to a more sensible choice. It also presents her an opportunity, maybe 4 years down the line, to present herself as possibly the first and only Republican candidate who could be the first and only woman president of the United States. But for now, Nikki Haley says she's staying put, she's not going anywhere. And finally, before we wrap up, Anant Ambani's dream project, Vantara, has been unveiled and is the biggest rescue center for over 60 species of wildlife in Jamnagar in Gujarat. CNN News 18's Anant Narasimhan spoke exclusively with Anant Ambani on his passion project. Thanks for tuning in.
So what's your vision with this? Where are we going with this? Are you creating something that is going to be perennial?
Luckily I'm getting married now.
Yes, you are. Congratulations.
I think I'm going to have one more person. Radhika is also extremely passionate about this. So I think both of us combined, and with my parents' blessings and my siblings, Akash and Isha's blessings, I think what you've seen now is only 8 to 10% of my vision.
Oh, lovely.
My vision is that at Vantara in Jamnagar, we would like to be the world's most advanced wildlife institute. And we would also like to conserve and breed critically endangered species so we can release them back in their habitat. Because a lot of species, even today as we speak, species are going extinct.
Correct.
And what you saw today is, so in Hindi there's a saying Chidiyaghar. It's not a chidiya, Sevalya hai. So we have created it as a Sevalya. And it's an area where we only rehabilitate, rescue, preserve, conserve and breed the endangered species.
Presented by. Now that's not easy. Now tell me, how did that happen? What's the genesis of this?
So my mother has always been a great inspiration to me. My mother, when I was a young boy and we were going, I was I think 12 years old, we were traveling from Jaipur to Ranthambore. In the middle on the road, we saw a young elephant with a mavat going on the road in the peak heat. And the elephant was walking a little weirdly. So I told my mom we want to rescue it. So that was the first elephant, and we had no idea how to take care of the elephant. So we got the elephant, we kept it, and then we said we'll build slowly, boon boon se sagar banta hai.
Right.
So we slowly, and today we have, that time we did not even know what to feed the elephant. We would do what the Mahavat says.
Correct.
We had no scientific knowledge. We built a scientific knowledge over a period of, I think, a decade and more. And today we have a highly professional team, more than 300, 400 professionals taking care of the elephants.
How big is this entire facility, if I may ask you?
So all our animal facilities put together spreads over more than 2,500 acres.
2,500 acres.
Yes.
That's a lot of space. And this is in Jamnagar. So Jamnagar is also where your refinery is, the core of your businesses is.
I would say this is my father's and my grandfather's dream. They've worked very hard. We have the world's largest refinery. We're getting the world's largest new energy plant here. And they've built everything from scratch. My mother built the township where all our employees live.
Right.
She's created a city, and it was a barren desert. And thanks to my parents, this exists. And even I have seen Jamnagar since 1997. The villages around have prospered so much. It's something amazing to see it.
Now, in the heart of all of this enterprise, where Reliance core and perhaps its ancillary and affiliates overall influence more than 1.5 crore lives, correct me if my numbers is wrong, amidst all of that, you thought of saying, okay, let's go and help those who can't talk for themselves.
So Anand, I basically, when I was a young child, I told you, my mother always would tell me to take care of the animals.
So in your childhood also you would do this?
I would do it in my childhood. And my father was actually, my father is one of the biggest wildlife buffs. For example, when we were young, I think till the age of 18, I've not gone to any other family holiday except Africa, Ranthambore and the jungles of Kahana, the jungles of Bandhavgarh, Kaziranga. My father would only take us to jungle holidays. So I think they inspired me to do this. And to be honest, I thought of, so domestic animals, there are many people who are doing a lot of good work across the country.
Correct.
But for wildlife, there are very few people. And, wildlife is getting endangered. Here, we have more than 50, 60 endangered species.
50, 60 endangered species.
We have rescued
Okay.
from various backgrounds like circuses, from road accidents, from animal-human conflict, from zoos which are overcrowded. We have rescued animals from all across, from hunting lodges in South Africa and from other places. So while we were rescuing them, I thought that we need a state-of-the-art hospital. We need a state-of-the-art facility. I don't want to keep them in cages. I want to keep them in their natural habitat. So we worked very hard. You saw today, I showed you.
Yeah.
We have mimicked the natural habitat to the T, as to the best of my ability. And my team is more important than me. There's a trust, and the trust runs it. So the team has created a wildlife sanctuary, and each enclosure has its own biodiversity. From the plants to the water body to even the rocks and the logs are from originally where the animals came from. Our focus is that India should not have any wild animal suffering in captivity, or any wild animal should not go without being treated.
That's a very, very big thought, because we are very rich in flora and fauna. So does that also open you up to scrutiny? Are people asking, what is this person doing in Jamnagar? Is he really creating a rescue and a rehabilitation center?
Of course, see, there are a lot of, when you do something, there'll be a lot of people who will praise you and a lot of people who will not praise you. But at the end of the day, in my heart, I know I'm true, and I'm doing it for animals. And as long as I know what I'm doing, I don't worry about what others have to say.
I believe there were some people who came and checked also.
We have had many.
And they went back convinced and
we have had many
converted.
We have the organization, the trusts have been going to court many times, and we have always argued well. And we are legally compliant. We comply with every statutory compliance, and every compliance is
line that's been checked. So there's nothing.
So
everything is above board. And
getting an animal is not easy. You have to. MOEF has certain guidelines. The state government has guidelines. The CITES. We are extremely regulated in terms of we follow every law to the T.
So you will stand the test of legal scrutiny in terms of this endeavor, because it's important. Because what you're doing is very significant.
Yes.
So let me ask you, you're also very dharmic. So is there a Sanatan connect to it all?
Of course. So as you know that in our Sanatan, you will, every deity has an animal which is close to her or his heart.
True.
Every deity
has a Vahana.
Is an animal.
Yeah.
So, and in our Rig Veda, Krishna said, Krishna also says that all life is equal.
Yeah.
May it be a human, or may it be a bee, or may it be an ant, everything is equal.
Yeah, Mamai Vamsho, he says.
Yes.
Jiva
So here we take care from frogs to mice to everything. So I have a whole, today you've seen as a wildlife rescue center.
But what does it do for you? Why do you do it? I'm
for me, I'm
asking as a layman. Everybody has money. Some people have little, some people have lots of money. Everybody does different things with them. You need to have a cause, something that drives you.
So my cause to do this was that human welfare, there are a lot of people working. But animal welfare, there are few people working. I think I was the chosen one, and I was fortunate enough that God's blessings that I could do seva of animals. For me, in today's life, you can't see God, but I see God within every animal. They say that, in our dharma, they say that in a cow there are 64 crore devtas. But for me, not only in a cow, but I see in every animal a devta. So it's my giving back to society.
Good afternoon. You're watching the Breaking News Show on CNN News 18, and we're beginning the show with breaking news coming in regarding the launching of a dream project. Anant Ambani's dream project Vantara is going to be unveiled today. It is the biggest rescue center for over 60 species of wildlife in Jamnagar. Now, this is the biggest rescue facility. It's called the Green Zoological Rescue and Rehabilitation Kingdom at Jamnagar, Gujarat. It's by, as we told you earlier, Reliance Industries Limited. It's
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. This weekend, we hosted the inaugural Defence Summit of First Post. From India's Defence Minister to Army Chief and DRDO Chief to former Prime Ministers and Defence Ministers of India's strategic partner countries, local defence manufacturers and international players, we got stakeholders from all sides to talk about self-reliance, securing the seas, artificial intelligence, diversification and the future of conflicts. For those of you who joined these conversations, thank you. For those who couldn't, you can find them on our website. We've taken notes on the insights shared by all our speakers and we'll use them as we put together stories for you. Tonight, we begin with the Maldives. Their former defence minister was with us. We'll tell you what she said and why President Muizu finds himself in a spot over his India Out campaign. The opposition has now accused him of lying.